High fire danger, first 100s of the year, weather impact going into effect. I'm ABC 10 Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods. I'm going to be breaking it down into each of these components, the first of which is going to be a red flag warning. That'll hit us first. It starts up at 10 a.m. on Wednesday, lasts through 5 p.m. on Thursday. Gusty winds, low humidity, leading to the potential for rapid fire spread. That'll be in place for the central and northern part of the Sacramento Valley, not so much in the Sacramento metropolitan area and Delta. But that being said, we're right on the verge of kind of seeing some of the thresholds to reach that red flag warning. So just be aware we got to be fire safe over the next several days. Wednesday through Friday is the time frame for our weather impact alert. Again, fire risk and heat. Wind gusts are going to be over 40 miles per hour. Highs are going to be near 100. So some of the safety precautions we need over the next several days. Have the go bag ready and sign up for the county alerts, as well as hydration and shade. Again, this is the first time that we're seeing this type of heat. We could have the potential for possible PSPS. That's going to be the Possible Safety Power Shutoffs. It's going to be for Tehama, Glenn, Colusa, Sutter, Yolo, Napa, and Sonoma, as well as Lake counties Wednesday through Friday. Not necessarily a for sure thing, but with this elevated fire risk, PG&E saying these areas could find some outages to prevent a spark from happening. Right now, it's quite the contrary. In Colusa County, we've got clouds hanging low, periods of light showers passing through, but you can see these browned out hills along the coastal range. Lower elevation, still a touch of green, but really we're still looking at a threshold where not only the soil moisture as well as the fuel is drying out very quickly, but now we're going to put together some wind as well as that low pressure system moves into the northern Rockies, high pressure ridge building in. The interesting thing about this is that low is ever so slightly to the north. That's why we're seeing more of that threshold reached in the northern part of the Sacramento Valley than, say, farther south into the Central Valley as well as in Southern California. Once we see that low depart, we get right back to that high pressure ridge, and the 100s are on the way. So a brief chance of some showers passing through the valley, still a light onshore flow for our Tuesday, and then things really turn around here into our Wednesday. Our north winds will start to develop throughout the valley. They compress, they warm, they bring low humidity, running at about 9 to 15% is the forecast right now for daytime humidity in the valley, and fairly low overnight recovery, and that's why we'll keep that red flag warning in effect through the evening and into Thursday afternoon. Wednesday through Friday, significant fire potential. It's going to be right through the Central Valley and over towards the coast. These are the areas, again, that could see the possible power shutoffs to prevent a line coming down, sparking a new fire with those gusty winds, especially on the west side of the valley. When we see how these are going to really accelerate by the time we get into our Wednesday night, Thursday morning, you can see why we're going to potentially see those shutoffs. Esparto, north wind gusts possibly at about 45 plus miles per hour through the Central Valley, closer to about 20 to 25 miles per hour will be the range. And then we'll see those die down as we head into our Thursday late afternoon, early evening. Here's the fire potential. Now, what we're seeing is the energy release component really starting to bump into that dry fuels category. Currently, we're at 49%. This is the Sacramento Valley and foothills, but you can see how this is expected to go up even more into the dry fuels category, kind of reaching the upper end of that threshold area. By the time we get into our July, mid-July, late August, we're kind of in the upper end of this, and that's where things are headed. So from here on out, we continue to see things dry out. Soil moisture is really parched for the lower elevations, and starting to see some of that present in the foothills as well as the Central Sierra, something that we're going to continue to watch as that fire migration starts to impact parts of the foothills and even into the Sierra. So far this season, we're pretty close to our averages. As far as total fires that have burned, we're a little bit below average, and then acres burned, we're a little bit above. So all in all, we're kind of falling in line. Nothing too extreme like last year when we saw the Palisades and Eaton fires as that growing drought was appearing in Southern California. Here's a look at our fire weather alerts. We went from a fire weather watch into a red flag warning. So we're at that point now for the northern and central part of the Sacramento Valley is when weather conditions are imminent or occurring to potentially result in the rapid spread of a fire if it were to start. Now, we haven't seen a particularly dangerous situation red flag flag warning yet this season. We've only had a couple of red flag warnings issued by the National Weather Service. But if it went up to another category, that's issued when extremely rare and dangerous fire weather conditions are imminent. Extreme and explosive fire growth. That's what happened with that Palisades and Eaton fire. And really, Camp Fire was right in line with that as well. Now, preventing a spark, definitely want to keep this in mind. Keep vehicles off of dry grass. Watch for dragging vehicle parts. This is a big time for folks to go camping and hiking or even boating. You may be dragging something behind. Want to make sure everything is secure. Mow lawns, not dry grass or weeds, and properly dispose of cigarettes and matches. You can see on the sides of the roads, everything is just really getting crispy. The go bags, 5 Ps, we go over this. People want to make sure that you have 1 bag per person with clothes and snacks. For the pets, make sure you have the carriers as well as food, toys, necessities. If you have to go to one of those evacuation centers, sometimes they do require a carrier. For your papers, all the important documents, that means identification, insurance, Social Security, and maybe just throw in a couple of paper maps. Let's say GPS goes out and you're looking for that evacuation route. Sure would be handy to have that on paper to be able to refer to. As far as our prescriptions, medicines, medical devices, and finally wrapping it up with photos, things that can't be replaced. You want to make sure that everything is accessible and just grab and go if that evacuation warning or order is issued. All right, here's a look at the band of rain that's passing through. This is all part and parcel to what's going on actually in the forecast. A little bit of a nice little cell there south of Redding moving off to the east. So certainly some active weather in Northern California. But as this high pressure ridge builds in, that weather system departs. Again, it's all about the placement of how those two come together that will result in the elevated fire danger because of the gusty winds. Once we get under that ridge of high pressure, it is all about the heat. It is going to be 100 plus for Thursday, Friday, possibly into Saturday. Right now, we're going to keep it onto a 2-day event, but Saturday's still in play. Fire risk, first and foremost, dry, gusty winds, easier fire spread, and then we're right into our first 100s with major to extreme heat risk for the first time this year. So far, we have yet to reach 100 degrees. In fact, last week was the first time that we actually hit above 95 degrees, a little bit delayed in that. But the average first 100-degree day is June 11th and will very likely be almost on the money for reaching that. Now, in terms of our heat risk, again, major heat risk developing in pockets kind of surrounding the valley by Thursday, and a couple of places that will see extreme heat risk on Friday. That means this is going to affect anyone without effective cooling or a place to get relief from the heat. We're going to see this all unfold as that weather system moves off to the east. High pressure ridge builds in. But before we get to that, we're going to see those strong winds, especially for the north end of the valley. Once we get into our Thursday, Friday afternoon forecast, we'll see the weather conditions change ever so slightly, less in the way of winds, but they've already set the stage for that ridge to bring the sinking, warming air and certainly a taste of the summer heat. And we have plenty of sunlight to do it, too. Day by day, we're kind of chipping away at more daylight. Monday, June 8th, sunrise 5:42. Now, the sunrise will not change until the summer solstice, just post-summer solstice. But our sunset is actually getting later and later. So right now, right about 8:30, by the time we get to the summer solstice, we've added an additional 5 minutes of daylight. Every little minute counts, especially when you're looking for that sun to go down and some of the cooling nighttime air to settle in. Highs for our Tuesday in the 70s for the Sierra, 70s and 80s throughout the foothills. We're still on pretty much the average side of things into our Tuesday forecast. 60s along the coast, 80s as we head into the Delta and through much of the valley. We're going to be in the mid to upper 80s for tomorrow. Again, not too far off the mark, but then we warm about 10 degrees by the time we get into our Wednesday forecast. So it's a quick turnaround from the showery and pretty much average temperatures into above average and some of the extreme heat starting to build. Even the coast, look at this on Thursday, 78 degrees. So certainly all of Northern California in on this heat event heading our way for Thursday, lingering for the valley on Friday. Fire the big danger Wednesday, Thursday, weather impact alert, 100s build soon thereafter. And then by the time we get into next week, right now we're going to call it for 90s, but you can see weather impact alert. We got fire, we got heat. Sure feels like summer is knocking on our door.